I don't think there shouldn't be any rules about design really. I think it should just depend on, what the individual person wants to make and wants to contribute.
Hi everyone, this is Mario and welcome to a new episode of Design Interviews and Questions, where we interview designers from all around the world to generate and share good content in a period that we must stay at home. So while everything is stopping, we talk about design, and today we do it with Anthony Burrill. So Anthony is a designer from the UK. He's well known for his poster with strong statements. His works are exhibited around the world at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, at the Copper Hewitt National Design Museum in New York, and many others. His works, his prints, are not just for people and collectors, but also for clients. Well, I have to say that is a strong CV for sure. Welcome, Anthony. Glad to have you here today with us.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to chatting to you, answering some questions.
As I always remember to the interviewees, you are totally free to answer whatever you want. So just feel free.
Okay.
I would start with the first question, which is, what made you become a designer?
I think that's quite a difficult question to answer honestly, but I think I was just into kind of visuals and kind of I kind of wanted a way of kind of getting into that world. I think of kind of, it seemed quite glamorous and sexy, so I kind of wanted to be in that world. I was kind of coming from a kind of industrial city in the north of England, and I wanted to be somewhere much more interesting and exciting and glamorous. And I think graphic design, I imagined graphic design would give me that, but in the end, I'm not sure it's that glamorous anymore. But yeah, I'm kind of looking to be transported into that different place, really.
And how did you approach design then?
I think like a lot of designers of my generation, it was through record sleeves. So kind of encountering sleeves by the Human League and Kraftwerk and those kind of electronic bands. So I was kind of in the kind of mid-80s, I was really into electronic music. I still am, but yeah, I think it was those record sleeves and just the whole mystique around music and music packaging and these incredible objects that kind of came from somewhere else.
So what then is design for you?
Design's kind of everything, isn't it? It's like the world around us, and it's kind of I think it's having an approach to life that is kind of searching for a kind of richness to life and a kind of meaningful quality that you want to you want to kind of spend your time doing something that has some kind of connection with people and some kind of meaning. And I think working within design, I think you can connect with lots of people from lots of places. This is a prime example. It's like you're in Italy, I'm in the UK, and we're just connecting and talking about things that we're both interested in. So I think design is much bigger than typefaces and posters. I think design is an approach to life, really.
Yeah, what I really appreciate from your works and also listening your answer, you talk about the design around us, people, so also humanity, and that is what I somehow feel when I look at your posters and your artworks, because I mean, are not perfect not because in that sense, but in a sense that is more like the letters are not perfectly straight and so on. So it's really human somehow. What? Yeah, sorry, please.
That's exactly what I'm about. Really, is kind of putting that individuality and kind of character into design. You know, I know you've already spoken to Daffy Kuhn. You've got his poster in the background, and it's like, you know, that is him perfectly. You know, his work and his character comes out in what he produces. So I think, you know, that's what everybody should strive for, is to make work that is you know, kind of connected to them as a person.
And what do you create as a designer then? Like connection with people, something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think.
No, sorry.
Yeah, I think I've used design just as a means of connecting with people. I think really, you know, it's almost like a kind of center of gravity that we're all kind of, you know, people who are interested in design and kind of interested in similar things are kind of pulled to this thing, whatever it is, and you kind of respond. You know, when you see a poster or you see, I don't know, an example of design, you just kind of respond to it kind of emotionally, I think. And I think that's shared by a lot of people. And I think when you meet people who share that kind of connection and passion, then it makes those kind of connections more meaningful, really.
And how it works, your like process. I mean, how do you arrive at that statement? Are you like interested in a kind of process, or like you just act free?
I try. I think everything that I do now is a kind of product of stuff. Everything that I've done over the past, you know, 20 or 30 years. You know, I'm kind of in my early 50s now, so I've kind of been doing this for a long time. Feels like but it still feels fresh. You know, it still feels like I've got a lot to discover. So yeah, I think my process is just about being in the world and being, you know, being human and responding to things that are around us, and try and make sense of the things that I see, and try and explain, you know, my opinions to other people through the work. And I think because I've developed an approach using letterpress and screen print, you know, very kind of like tactile, handmade processes, that I think that kind of, yeah, it kind of connects with that idea of kind of simple humanity, I think. But yeah, without wanting to sound too kind of grand about it, you know, I'm kind of really, I just really love what I do, and I feel really lucky that I can, you know, spend my time doing the thing I love, really.
So we can also say that your process is not just mental process, like how you get to those claims, those statements, but is also a kind of body experience that you do while you're printing, how you build your letters when you print and so on.
Yeah. I think there's a kind of physical connection, and you know, when you're actually physically printing, you kind of feel that connection with the materials, and you know, recently I made a print using kind of charcoal from the Australian bushfires. So kind of making a print with that, it kind of felt like there's a real physical connection between the work and the subject. You know, it's like previously I printed with oil from an oil spill, and you know, I think when you have a connection, a kind of physical connection, at least for me, you know, that's kind of really important.
So being like very human, the outcomes from you, and also what we have seen from Daffy Kune in a couple of previous episodes. Being human, I mean, is not perfect. You know, I mean, we cannot say that it's perfect. But
No.
do you think perfection exists in design?
I think, yeah, there are so many kind of different opinions on design, and what is perfection? What is, is this perfection? Is it? It's kind of, I don't. Yeah, I think there's always room for improvement, definitely.
And regarding contemporary design, what's your opinion about? I mean, I think your outcomes are very, don't get me wrong, but somehow are quite simple, and they works a lot for their simplicity. But we are also overwhelmed of crazy designs and very things that are like chaos and not simple.
Yeah. I think I've always been drawn to simplicity. It's like my studio is very simple and kind of clear, and I just like to have that kind of space in my head. And I think the work that I make is it's an extension of that approach to simplicity. I think all I think when you have too much kind of visual information, too much chaos, it kind of detracts really. I think that there's a time for kind of chaos and kind of over stimulation, but then I think you need to balance that with a kind of simplicity as well. I think that there's room for all kinds of design. I don't think there shouldn't be any rules about design really. I think it should just depend on what the individual person wants to make and wants to contribute.
Yeah, sure, totally. And internet, of course, is something that is new. You probably started your graphic design career in a generation that didn't have internet. But
Yeah.
I think for you, also looking at Instagram and online, it really helped you somehow.
Yeah. I think it's just that being exposed to a million different things every day, and just kind of choosing the things that you're interested in. I think we can all just we all just navigate our way through all that stuff these days. But yeah, definitely when I was a student and when I just graduated, that was before the internet existed, and it's very hard to imagine now. But it was, in a way, it was kind of having the restriction, and I don't know, just being kind of working individually, on your own projects, and kind of being kind of in a way, well, off the grid, because we didn't know what the grid was. So we were kind of all naturally off the grid, and the way that we kind of communicated was meeting up in the pub or at a exhibition, private view. That was when we had our kind of social networking. But now you can do it all the time. So,
but do you think was it good, the impact internet had on design?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been positive. But like anything, there are positives and negatives to it. It kind of, in a way, it's kind of democratized design, and now, design is open to anybody with a smartphone. Really, you can create an Instagram and start communicating instantly. So, whether that's good or bad, I think always the stuff that connects is always going to be there. But But yeah, I think it's just how you deal with it personally. How you engage with it. Whether you make it a big part of your life or just one of the things that you do during your day.
But don't you think that is kind of necessary today to approach internet, like social media and so on, for a graphic designer or a studio?
Yeah, I think so. But I think I think I'm sure there's some kind of reaction against it. I'm sure there's some amazing work being done that nobody ever sees because it's never online. I know it's like with my son and his friends. None of them use smartphones. They just have very simple phones where they just text each other, and my son doesn't really engage with social media. He's and that's a choice. To be off all that stuff.
Yeah, like maximum respect. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. But I think I think it's kind of it's just a reaction to technology, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. You give also lectures and workshops, so you're kind of into the education. What do you think about design education? Also, because you comes from another generation, so was less important design maybe at the time, and today is something more central, something more important.
Yeah, I think when I was at art school, it was a very definite choice, and it wasn't something that everybody did. Whereas I think now, going to art college, you need to kind of do stuff. It's kind of I don't know if it has the same cultural resonance. I think because I'm looking at it through the lens of my experience, I kind of. I think with some students, you kind of make a connection because they understand where I'm coming from, but with other students, you just think they don't understand where I'm coming from, so that there's no kind of connection. So it can be kind of in a way, kind of miscommunication somehow. But I think even out of that, there becomes, something interesting happens. I think you both find a kind of common ground where you can kind of, have some kind of overlap. But yeah, it's difficult. I think I'm kind of, I like doing kind of practical workshops, like kind of screen print workshops where you can physically see a kind of result of work made by hand. And I think it's great showing people how to screen print because it's such a fantastic process that you can play with, and it's nothing to do with being on a computer. It's great.
And another interesting thing regarding you, of course, is how you found your space in contemporary design, as we said before, especially because of the simplicity of your works, but also for the techniques. We talked about this also with the Daffy Kune. But how do you see the role of the designer in the future? Because I think it's not easy for people to do what you did.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't easy for me to do what I did either. I had to really stick at it, and it was. Yeah, I think it's hard for everyone, isn't it? It's kind of looking back on the stuff that I did. It was kind of I don't know. I was just on this track, and I was searching for something, and I was very determined to do what I wanted to do. I had a very a kind of vision of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. But I knew there was something that lay ahead that I wanted to do. So yeah, I think I just made my own niche really, and I've created my own world. And I think everybody can do that. I think everyone can make their own, version of themselves. You can kind of, create who you are really. I think that's what we do every day.
Regarding with your prints, of course, I think the messages are really important, especially now in this moment. And so how we go to the last question. Regarding this moment of this global pandemic, do you think the design world can do something for this moment? I saw you publish on your Instagram, and I invite all our audience to look at it. You printed some T-shirts, right?
Yeah. That was. I think my work kind of makes those connections in a way that is kind of, I don't know. It's like, because I'm thinking about the world around us all the time. I think the work that I've done over the past few years has definitely been kind of conscious of the fact that the world is changing, and humanity needs to address a few issues that are going on. So I think because I'm concerned about that, it's coming through in the work that I do and the work that I make. So it's it's unprecedented. It's a bizarre time, and this is going to affect humanity, for the next few generations, and hopefully it'll kind of give everyone time to kind of really think about what's going on in the world and how we interact with each other, and how we're treating the planet.
Yeah, well, thank you, Anthony. It was really a pleasure to talk with you. It was inspiring discussion, and also to know better you.
Yeah, you too. It was nice to see a human face.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we want to do. We know that somehow this kind of conversation also could be a simple podcast, but we wanted to make it like this also because we wanted to show designers that we usually see on Instagram and so on. At their place, and
no, it's perfect. But I think good luck with everything, and hopefully we'll meet in person one day.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Thank you.
Nice one. Cheers.
Cheers.